Chapter 1. 3 Questions. It once occurred to a king that if he always knew the right time for every action, the right people to listen to and to avoid, and above all, what the most important thing to do was, he would never fail in anything. He had it proclaimed throughout his kingdom that he would give a great reward to anyone who would teach him these truths. Many learned men came to the king. In reply to the first question, some said that one must draw up a table of days, months, and years, and live strictly according to it. Others declared that it was impossible to decide beforehand the right time for every action. One should be attentive to all that was going on and do what was the most needed. Some said that the king should have a council of wise men to help him decide the proper time for everything. Yet others said there were things one had to decide at once, for which one must know beforehand what was going to happen. Since only magicians knew that, one must consult magicians. Equally varied were the answers to the second question. Some said that the people the king most needed were his counselors. Others said it was the priests, yet others the doctors, while some said the warriors were the most necessary. To the third question, some replied that the most important thing in the world was science. Others said it was skill in warfare, and others again that it was religious worship. The king was dissatisfied with all the answers. He decided to consult a hermit renowned for his wisdom. The hermit lived in a wood, and he received none but common folk. So the king put on simple clothes, and leaving his horse and bodyguards behind, went alone. When the king approached, the frail hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and went on digging, breathing heavily. The king went up to him and said,
"I have come to you, wise hermit, to seek answers to 3 questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I most need? And what affairs are the most important?"
The hermit listened to the king, but answered nothing. He just recommenced digging.
"You are tired.
Said the king.
Let me take the spade and work a while for you." "Thank you,"
Said the hermit, and giving the spade to the king, sat down on the ground. A little later, when he had dug 2 beds, the king stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit again gave no answer, but rose and said,
"Now rest a while and let me work a bit."
But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed, and then another. The sun began to sink behind the trees. The king at last stuck the spade into the ground and said,
"I came to you, wise men, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me none, tell me so, and I will return home." "Here comes someone running.
said the hermit.
Let us see who it is."
The king turned round and saw a bearded man come running out of the woods. When he reached the king, he fell to the ground, moaning feebly. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. There was a large wound in his stomach. The king washed and bandaged it several times till the blood ceased flowing. Meanwhile the sun had set and it had become cool. The king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man inside the hut and laid him on the bed. The king also fell asleep, tired as he was. When he awoke in the morning, he saw the bearded man gazing intently at him.
"Forgive me,"
said the man in a weak voice.
"I do not know you, and have nothing to forgive you for.
said the king.
You do not know me, but I know you. I am that enemy of yours who swore to revenge himself on you, because you executed my brother and seized his property. I knew you had gone alone to see the hermit, and I resolved to kill you on your way back. But the day passed and you did not return. So I came out from my ambush to find you. I came upon your bodyguards. They recognized me and wounded me. I escaped from them and would have bled to death had you not dressed my wound. I wished to kill you, but you have saved my life. If I live, I will serve you as your most faithful servant and will bid my sons do the same. Forgive me.
The king was very glad to have made peace with his enemy and to have gained him for a friend. Having taken leave of the wounded man, the king went out and looked around for the hermit. The hermit was outside on his knees, sowing seeds in the beds that had been dug the day before. The king approached him and said,
For the last time I pray you to answer my questions, wise man. You have already been answered.
said the hermit, looking up at the king, who stood before him.
What do you mean?
Asked the king.
Do you not see?
Replied the hermit.
If you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and dug those beds, but had gone your way, that man would have attacked you. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds. I was the most important man. To do me good was your most important business. Afterwards, when that man ran to us, the most important time was when you were attending to him. For if you had not bound up his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. So, he was the most important man. What you did for him was your most important business. Remember, there is only one time that is important. Now, it is the only time when we have any power. The most necessary man is he with whom you are, for no man knows whether he will ever have dealings with anyone else. And the most important affair is to do him good, because for that purpose alone was man sent into this life.
By Leo Tolstoy.